Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Millions of Americans are now staring down financial ruin as the Trump administration declares it will seize wages, tax refunds, and pensions from student loan defaulters starting on May 5th with no exceptions and no mercy. Now, there will be some exceptions. If you apply for deferment, you can communicate with the federal government and try to get a fair shake. But it's been since 2020 that 5 million people have not been paying their student loans. I mean, 5 million people, it's 2025. You can pay a little bit towards your student loan. You could at least get out of your defaulted status. They're working with people. You just can't blow them off and say, oh, it's free money. The Trump administration announced it will resume debt collection on defaulted federal student loans starting on May 5th. This includes garnishing wages, seizing tax refunds, and benefits. The pause on collection began during the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020. The government now says it can and will collect by any legal means necessary, which means they're not going to send guys to your house. They're not going to be like knocking on your door in the middle of the night, but they're going to do the legal stuff and they're going to try and get the money. They're also going to affect your credit ratings. And if your credit rating matters to you, if you have a 700 and you don't want to go to like the 500s, you got to at least pay the loans or at least get in a good status with the government on these loans. It's $1.6 trillion or so worth of student loans. You can't just expect the government to say, okay, forget about it. We'll just lose all that money. As it is, when you don't pay the loans, you get into kind of a stealth default on the loans that make the value of the loans less for the federal government. They can't afford to let this go year after year after year and not get collection on it, or it shows that your loan has no value. That hurts the federal government and the American people. More than 5 million borrowers are already in default, with another 4 million getting close to default. These individuals face immediate financial consequences, and they're not getting away with this stuff anymore. Default occurs after 270 days of non-payment. After that point, the full balance and interest become due immediately. The federal government's Treasury Offset Program allows them to withhold up to 100% of tax refunds and 15% of wages and Social Security payments to federal employees, and even some state funds can also be seized. So if you work for the federal government, if DOGE hasn't laid you off yet, they're coming for your money. Wage garnishment doesn't require a court order. The government has to give you 30 days by giving you a notice of your default, during which time borrowers can challenge or negotiate repayment. Do not ignore those letters if you get those letters. This government's not playing around. Borrowers declared in default lose access to deferment, forbearance, and additional student aid. Colleges can also withhold transcripts. In some cases, professional or driver's licenses may be suspended due to default. And of course, people are losing their minds over this because they figured, okay, look, if we could just get away with this for another couple of years, maybe we don't have to pay back our student loans at all. Well, no, you're going to have to pay them back. From Yahoo News, quote, everyone needs to make a ton of effing noise about this. People are livid over the Trump administration's new student loan decision. The Department of Education recently announced that it will start referring student loans that have gone into default for collection starting May 5th. Caroline Levitt had this to say for the White House. Quote, if you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple. President Trump will not kick the can down the road anymore. And the internet is losing their minds. Many people pointed out what they see as hypocrisy. Quote, 97% of PPP loans during COVID were forgiven, totaling close to $800 billion. Regular people garnished wages. The difference, of course, with the PPP loans is that the government literally shut down the country. They didn't give you an option. It wasn't a choice. The federal government did it. The PPP loans were to prevent everyone from losing all of their jobs, so we didn't have like 50% unemployment and go into a depression. It's a little bit different when you decide to get your feminist dance class degree or a master's in sexual preferences or whatever it is that people are getting college degrees for now or masters in now, or other things that are legitimate degrees, but just maybe they don't have a way to turn them into money. I don't know. You have to be careful when you make a decision to acquire like $100,000 or more worth of loans. It has to be something you think through. You can't just say, well, I didn't really think it through, so I don't really want to have to pay this loan. Like, well, it is your loan and you do have to pay it. Someone else pointed out that garnishing wages for student loans for up to 5.3 million people during a housing affordability and homelessness crisis might be a mistake. Well, it's not a mistake. Like, you owe the money. You got to pay it. We can't just pretend that you're going to pay it, but you're not going to pay it. Ultimately, the federal government wants to take our loan portfolio and give it to private people to take that over. And from Forbes, the White House says it will seize wages for student loans in collection. Here's what borrowers can expect. Borrowers who have defaulted on their debt will receive notices over the next 2 weeks, urging them to take action on their debt before consequences are imposed. Federal student loans are like completely out of control. Only 38% of borrowers are in repayment right now and are up to date on their student loan payments. Nearly 25% of all federal student loan borrowers could be in default in the coming months. Student loans are not supposed to be student giveaways. We're trying to help people with student loans so they can afford to go to college and have a good life, not give away 62% of all the loans that we're issuing to people that have no intention of paying us back. It's really out of control. But the Trump administration has some ideas. They're going to use student loans to their advantage. From Business Insider, Trump wants to overhaul the way colleges receive federal student loans and grants as part of the DEI crackdown. This is saying that if you're going to take out a student loan, and people will cry and they'll get angry about this and they'll complain, but if you're going to take out a federal student loan, it should be for something that's worth taking out a loan for. Don't learn ridiculous woke subjects that you can't turn into money in your future career, because there are careers that people are going to have, hopefully, for the rest of their lives. So if you want the federal government to back you up and give you a loan and finance your education, it should be for something worthwhile that you can make a living at. Here's the plan. One of President Trump's latest executive orders leverages what he calls his secret weapon to crack down on DEI initiatives at colleges and universities. One of the 7 executive orders related to education that Trump signed on this past Wednesday was aimed at changing the college accreditation process. Accreditors are independent agencies that review colleges every few years to determine if they meet the necessary standards, including student achievement and diversity on campuses, to continue receiving federal aid. So if the college doesn't meet the standard, they don't get the federal money. I think you can see where this is going. If a college meets the accreditor standards, it's eligible to receive some of the billions of dollars of student loans and federal grants for low-income students that the Department of Education disperses each year. Trump's executive order said that some accreditors have granted schools federal funding based on their DEI standards and have abused their enormous authority by accrediting schools that engaged in ideological overreach. Quote, America's higher education accreditation system is broken, according to Education Secretary Linda McMahon, adding that accreditors push schools in ideological directions where they should be focused on core subjects. They're literally screwing up people's lives, not just with ruining their careers, but also giving them debt that they can't really have a good chance of paying back. They're messing with people's complete and total futures just to push their ideological agenda. I mean, that's really wrong. She continues, quote, the result is more bureaucracy, less innovation, sprawling DEI administrative complexes, and burdensome oversight by unaccountable accreditors rather than state education leaders and duly appointed governing board members, according to McMahon. The order directs McMahon to monitor and potentially terminate accreditors who she deems as violating civil rights law by granting accreditation to colleges with DEI initiatives. It also directs McMahon, in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services, to investigate DEI programs at medical schools that receive federal funding. This is like a massive crackdown. Trump has previously called college accreditation his secret weapon to overhaul higher education. In a campaign video from 2023, Trump said that he will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. Quote, we will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again, once and for all. It's unclear how McMahon will implement the executive order. It was accompanied by 6 other orders related to education, including one to boost the number of apprenticeships in the U.S. and another aimed at educating students on artificial intelligence. The move comes amidst Trump's broader plans to reshape the U.S. education system. He's launched dozens of investigations into both K-12 and higher education institutions over practices that don't align with the administration's beliefs, particularly those focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. More broadly, Trump signed an executive order calling for the entire Department of Education to be eliminated. Education advocates, of course, have criticized Trump's moves to reshape accreditation. Todd Wolfson, the president of the American Association of University Professors, said in a statement that Trump is weaponizing the accreditation process to gain the leverage he seeks. Everybody wants leverage, but not everybody has legitimate authority. When the president gets elected by the people of the United States, that's legitimate authority. Whatever it takes, wherever they have to go, they will get these students to pay off their loans. And they will hold these colleges accountable. Now, I know you're thinking and you're worried and you're concerned. Who's going to be most affected by having to pay back their student loans? Apparently, it's women, because men have been sort of kept out of colleges. Men have been discouraged from getting a higher education and bettering themselves. So all of this focus on women means it's the women who are not paying off their student loans. From the 19th, which must have something to do with an amendment or something. Women could be most affected by Trump's penalties for overdue student loans. The move by the Trump administration is set to begin May 5th, and borrowers with delinquent payments could have their wages garnished as early as the summer. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.